So this is the concepts where companies are striving to reduce the cycle time and time to market, and this is not possible without the cooperation of each supply chain entity, including suppliers, right? Increase rate of innovation. If you want to innovate, obviously you want to innovate with your supplied products also, right? So this is what the entities want. Risk management, right? We all have just come out of a worldwide risk of COVID-19, right? This disaster, this natural disruption has actually affected each and every individual and each and every industry globally, right? So to manage such risks, like we need to cooperate with all supply chain partners, right? So that we can mitigate the risk. And suppliers are considered as cost reduction centers. So these are the changing expectations of companies, right, which has leading to go from purchasing procurement function to the strategic sourcing, right? So now how these are impacting the strategic decision making, right? If a company wants innovative product, right? So today's expectation is within an organization, the sourcing function, or some companies called supply management function, some company called strategic sourcing function, or the department, they have to keep looking for the new suppliers, or they have to keep an eye on suppliers, how they are innovating, what is their innovation capability, right? So that the company can introduce innovative products. So this is a continuous phenomena. Now you see that how the roles of purchasing department are changing, right? So the other recent things which changes which are happening is like the uh, the raw material which we are getting, like steel, copper, as we are moving towards more sustainable solutions like battery operated vehicles and all, right? It demands like various raw material, right? So this raw materials, like what is the implication of this raw materials on purchasing, right? For example, a company is auto sector is dependent on steel, right? And batteries are more dependent on lithium, copper, zinc, right? And so on, right? So where these reserves are, right? To what extent we can explore those reserves, right? So all these raw materials are scarce, right? So uh, their prices are changing, risk, uncertainty, right? So these prices are changing, right? So how can we build intelligence within a company to chase such suppliers, to chase the prices of this raw materials, so that we can make informed decisions within the strategic sourcing function to decide what to procure at right price today, tomorrow. The price which we are getting of all these raw materials today can shoot up to double figures tomorrow, right? So how you see that such intelligence have to be built in the strategic sourcing function. Okay, so this is the evolution which we are getting, which we are facing in this current environment. So this has motivated the companies to move towards supply management or strategic sourcing from the traditional concept, which is more of a inclusive concepts, right? What do we mean by inclusive? So near buying to partnering with supplier, right? Or if we see that what do we mean by strategic approach? This is to planning for acquiring the organizational current and future needs. It can be products or services, right? Through effectively managing the supply base, right? Supply base means number of suppliers, right? Just think about an auto sector, like how many parts and components goes into one auto vehicle, and then go backwards, how many suppliers would be required to get the parts, components, sub-assemblies, right? Utilizing a process orientation in conjunction with cross-functional team to achieve organizational mission. Now you see that the current approaches are focusing on the importance of this function, right, to achieve even the organizational mission or strategy. The, the Institute of Supply Management says this is identification, acquisition, access, positioning and management of resources and related capabilities an organization needs, right? So many companies, they debate that we just don't source raw material, but we are going for capability sourcing, right? So we are going for capability sourcing, right? So this is the intention of strategic sourcing, right? Now what is changing, right? We are in volatile, uncertainty, complexity and ambiguity. We are in VUCA world, right, which is changing every day. I've just mentioned, right, uncertainty, risk, right, and we cannot manage as a company alone, right? Whole supply chain is affected, like even if anything happens at tier 1 supplier, right, it would affect the whole nations, all nations, right? So this is even if we would go back to the COVID-19, right, if we would talk about India, India got like the first case definitely came around December, January, but it got like its first lockdown in month of March, right? But if you would just go 2-3 months back from March 2020, right? In November, December 2019, we were already getting in news that China, in Wuhan, they have constructed hospitals, a 1,000-bed hospital within few days, right? So these were in news, right? We were amazed, how they can do that. But none of the country, none of the nation realized that if some country is making a 100-bed, 1,000-bed hospital in such a emergency, right? That means the situation is very critical, right? It just took 2-3 months. It just took 2-3 months to felt, to realize, and to feel, the same risk in our nation, right? So the similar impact happens, like if any disruption would happen at anywhere in nation, mind it, its ripple effect would be realized everywhere in the world, right? We are in that era of VUCA and globalization, right? So that certainly leads to, if it is globalization, the only thing to manage this risk is have an integrated organization. There is a more risk exposure, right? So how we can mitigate the risk? We have to work with the suppliers, right? The risk of prices, risk of currency fluctuations, right? We have to mend. Now you see that each and every challenge is actually making or motivating us to have more intelligent strategic sourcing function, isn't it? Right? That means the workforce working in the strategic sourcing function has to be aware of what is the risk exposure and how to manage the supply risk, right? So customer demands are changing, right? So every now and then, I really don't know what is the shelf life of a mobile, right? With what speed new mobiles, new handsets are coming, right? Now, this is not possible for a single company to be agile or flexible in an isolation manner. The whole supply chain has to be including suppliers, more and more services, right? So companies are saying that this is my core competency and this is not. Marketing, logistics. Why should I focus on all these activities when, good companies, the companies with great capabilities of such functions are existing? More and more outsourcing, right? More we outsource, more is the reliance on sourcing, more is the reliance on suppliers, and hence we need a good department to manage it effectively. Just told you role of ML, AI, analytics, right? The forward looking companies, they keep an eye on weather and climate conditions of suppliers located far across the other end of globe, right? Why so? That to be watchful. To be watchful if any disruption would happen, how I should be prepared for that. Okay, so this is the AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, right? All these advances have now made it possible to access data, to analyze data, to make some intelligent decisions, to come up with good predictive analytics, so that we should be watchful, right? Or we can take decisions timely. Very important. Sustainability and ESG goals, right? So, sustainability is very important, and it is only achievable if all supply chain entities participate, right? I really give an example. These days we see that every company claims, right, that we have emitted this much carbons, right, we have reduced carbon emissions, our contribution to greenhouse gases have come down, right? So what if, suppose a company is producing finished goods, right, in the most environment friendly manner, but they would transport those finished goods over a logistics company, right, which might not be following this sustainability practices and polluting the environment, right? All the efforts of company A, which is producing the finished goods, would go waste if the immediate next entity of supply chain would not cooperate or would not follow the sustainability practices, right? So that's why, whenever a company claims the sustainability achievement, it is not about the company, it is about the whole supply chain. Till that company should be following these practices. So companies, they want sustainable suppliers, right? And not only that, to encourage that, many companies, if you see that many big giants, they have enlisted in their websites their suppliers and their suppliers sustainability reports, right? So such an emphasis have been given to the suppliers sustainability initiatives.